Hello, hello. Um, I cannot tell who has joined and who hasn't. So if you are here, just say hello. Let me know that you can hear me okay, that you can see me okay. Okay, I can see that 3 people have joined. Please, all 3 of you, let me know if you can hear me. Hello. If you can hear me, say, I can hear you. I don't know. I was gonna think of something more novel than that. But hey, Rishi. Hey, the friendly shark. Perfect. I'm glad that you can hear me. You can hear me well. This is not the most. I don't like when. Well, it doesn't matter that the mic is on the screen. I couldn't find my tiny tripod, but I wanted to make sure that the sound is good enough. I think I'm gonna try and share my screen. I will wait until 10 people have joined and then we can get started. So let me try and figure this out. Okay, we have 6 people. As you join, say hi. If your name is your name, then that's fine. Let me know where you're joining in from. Hi, Jean. Okay, can you see my slides? We're trying new things. We're trying new things. Maybe I do that. I think that's a bit better. Maybe it's gonna be just the 5 of us, which is fine. The other 3, well, I've seen 3 people in the comments. There might be some delay on my end to see oh, 7. Fantastic. Okay, let's give it some time. Let's get to 10. 10 is a crowd. Okay, perhaps as we're waiting for the 10 people to arrive, this is gonna be the layout of the chat today. I made slides for you all because I was so excited. And I'm a yapper, so I wanted to make sure that I have points to return to in case I lose the plot. So this is kind of the outline, what to expect from this live chat. So I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, so I don't want to waste the time of the 7 of you who are here. So why don't we just get started, and then as people join in, we'll do what we can. Okay. So first, this is not financial advice, okay? I have to put that disclaimer out. It's just sharing parts of my experience, what I've learned, and I just want to make sure that you're not taking the legal people in the chat. We just gotta put those disclaimers out there. Okay. Number 2, engage with me. The reason why I've opted to go live instead of filming a video and posting it later is because I do want to chat with all of you in the comment section. So I know I've gotten a lot from being a silent viewer of other people's content, but I would like to have a community and actually engage with you guys. So if you feel comfortable enough, please interact with me. The third thing is please respect my boundaries. I am going to share quite a bit about myself today, and they might just be parts of that I want to keep to myself, including not discussing specifics, and answering questions within my capabilities. So if you ask a question and I don't know the answer, I'm not comfortable answering it, I'll do my best to address it as we go, but just take whatever I can provide within the comforts of my boundaries. The next point is nuance and grace. So I accept that everything I say today might not necessarily be true or like true for everyone. So let's just approach it as such. And if you want to correct me, fact check me, please feel free to. Just do so kindly. Let's be kind to one another also in the comment section. I also added like it's okay to change my mind. I think also these disclaimers are more so for me and for the comfort of going live and worrying about sometimes when you go live and you say things and I might wake up tomorrow or as soon as the live ends, I might have a different opinion than the one that I shared. And I want to give myself the grace for my mind to change, for my opinions to change. And hopefully you can give me the same grace as well because we are always evolving, we're always learning. Um, Great. Okay, so I don't want it to be too PowerPoint presentation-y, so I'll maybe just have my face here and then we can just kind of go as we go. So, today's conversation is about the financial burden as an international student in the UK. And the reason I'm having this conversation is because last week on Wellness Wednesday on Instagram, I came across a TikTok post by a man named Ken. Ken's Money Matters. He's a Kenyan in the diaspora. I'm not very sure where he is. I think he's in the US. And he had done a series around Africans in their diaspora. Actually, I think I might be able to find it and share it. So let's explore, guys. Let's see if I can do that. um, but yeah, so basically, he was talking a bit about what it's like to be in the diaspora. And when someone in the diaspora tells you that they don't have money, you need to believe them. Well, sorry. I felt particularly like a lot of the things, points he brought up, I resonated with deeply. And I wanted to be able to add a bit of my own experience as well. And I thought making it out into a series where we can chat more about it would be beneficial for others in the diaspora and to just start a conversation around it. Okay, so let's see. But it's actually the video is too long to watch together, so maybe we'll just hold off for now. But that's the background of the discussion. And last Wednesday, we talked about the difficulty with building a CV or a portfolio as an international student. And that's one of those things you don't really think about when you're coming to the UK and the local students have a one up over you because they've been working at it throughout. They understand the system, they understand who to speak to. And so that can be quite a challenging gap to overcome. And I may be revisiting that a bit later. So that's the background. If you're tuned in and you are an international student abroad, or you can resonate with the discussion we're having, please drop comments as we go along. And also, if you have any questions as we keep going, let me know. Okay, so I think I wanted to start off the conversation with thinking about why content creators or why people with platforms are not as open and honest about money. And actually, I'm curious, for those of you who are tuned in, what do you think is the reason why, especially I think in Kenya, although that's changing more and more with time, we don't really talk about finances as openly and talk about our financial situation? Because I think that's pertinent to part of the burden of being an international student for me is I feel like already we exist in a society where talking about money is not very comfortable. So I pose a question to you who's tuned in. Why do you think we don't talk about money openly? And as you're sharing that, as you're typing that, I can start sharing what I thought about as some of the main reasons that people don't talk about money enough. The first is probably just the most obvious: boundaries. Everyone gets to choose whatever they want to share about, especially online when you can be scrutinized by whoever's watching you. So everyone gets to choose whatever part of their story that they want to share, and that's just what it is. Um, However, I think the caveat or the counterpoint to that is the fact that I've benefited a lot from the openness of content creators who I follow who talk about money. And I've seen that it's more so content creators from the West. So, I follow some financial content creators from the US, from the UK, in Australia, and they actually break down every single thing. They show you their spreadsheets, they show you their bank accounts, they show you everything. And it's such a vulnerable thing to do, to be that open with people you don't even know and just putting stuff out there. So, anyone have any thoughts about why, or maybe let me pose it more personally to you? Why would you not share what your financial circumstances are? Why would you not go live like me right now and talk about your financial circumstances and money? Another reason I thought is there's an element of superstition to talking about money and feeling as though if you talk about it and you put yourself out there, you're at risk of people cursing you or evil eye. Variations of evil eye in different cultures have different thoughts around that. But I think that plays a huge role in why people wouldn't want to talk about their money openly. And I actually think it's not just online. Maybe I've narrowed the question too much, but it's just talking about money with other people in general, with your friends, with your partner, with your family, with your employer, with your colleagues. Why aren't we talking about money? Okay, so I see a comment here, which I think I can show. Okay, as a UK born and bred, I see here that there's already taboo around sharing your finances, especially in Scotland, where we keep our cards very close to our chest about money, are classically tight. Yeah, definitely there is something about that. There's an element of privacy. Um, so I can't imagine coming into that and not feeling able to share with your own cultural context on top of that. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. There is a taboo, it's unspoken rule. Um, and then also some people look at it as though it's disrespectful to actually talk about money or ask other people about money. And I find that very interesting, because I don't think that should be the case. But yeah, um, I think it's aversion to information asymmetry of any kind. Can you expand on what you mean by information asymmetry? Is it that you're sharing more than the person on the other end? Like there's an imbalance there, that you're being more open than the person who's receiving this information. I just want to make sure I understand that. Okay, so interesting so far. I think another exactly that. Okay, yeah. So it is very vulnerable. And I think that's why I wanted to start the conversation there, because this is very uncomfortable for me, actually. It's very challenging to decide to talk about yourself in a way that is quite intimate. I think money is very intimate for many people. And then another reason I think um, people, especially in Kenya, don't talk about money in detail is the tax man. We talk about Kenya Revenue Authority. And if you start talking about your numbers, they will find you and they'll start doing their mathematics and being like, okay, so if you're making that much, why is your tax this and that? And unfortunately, or many people don't have formal businesses for one reason or another, or you just don't want to be audited. Like, so I can see why that would be a reason not to talk about money. Um, and then what's the other reason? Privilege. This is something I think people like to scatter around, especially in, I don't know, I found like in online conversations around money in Kenya, it seems like it's quite hard to accept and to just come out right and say um, that you are a privileged person. And as I was thinking about talking today, I was thinking about that and owning that as a true as a truth, that I am privileged in many ways, but also the fact that I say that, I know that some people's perception of me would then now water down the effort that I've put to get to where I am, or would invalidate this entire conversation that we're having. Because one could argue, why would you dedicate an hour to talking about financial struggles in the diaspora when you're in the diaspora to begin with? Like, that's a privilege that many people don't even experience. So what are we even doing here? So I wanted to make sure that you're actually, I'm acknowledging my privilege to begin with, you know, um, but thinking about that not being where the conversation starts and ends. So, of course, to have nuanced conversation around money, um, it can't be black and white. It can't be like, okay, you're privileged, so you can't speak. Or, I don't know, we can be careful, but also we can find a way, I think. So, a question to you who's watching: what do you think about privilege and what role it plays in conversations about finance online? That's such a broad question, but generally, um, do you think privilege should be acknowledged more, acknowledged less? It's acknowledged enough? It's implied? Do we need to talk about privilege when we talk about money? Okay, so next we're going to go into my story as I wait to hear from you guys. Um, and I hope I'm not moving too quickly. If you're still with me, just give me a thumbs up. All five of us are having, well, six including me, we're having a great time, I think. And I'm really happy to have you on with me, even though the three people who are talking are three people I know. It's fine. We're here. This is community. This is what it's all about. So, fab. My story. Where do I start? I've experienced financial anxiety ever since I left home. All 6 years of being away from home have been riddled with financial anxiety. And that's been quite difficult to, let's remove that. That's been quite difficult to reflect on. Um, and there's been moments when it's been worse than other times. And weirdly, it's always worse around exam season, is when I'm fighting, looking for my school fees. And it has taken such a huge toll on my mental health, on my body, and even my capacity to show up as what I would deem, my best self for exams. So that's a huge struggle that many international students, or many students with financial issues, face. And it's just never the right time to be thinking about money when you're struggling with everything else. With just life alone, life in and of itself is overwhelming. There are so many things to think about. But as a student, and there's this burden and this pressure of being a student in the diaspora, and you need to come back with whatever certification that you said you're going to go and get. And there's the pressure, or the pressure to finish, and to finish strong, the pressure to make yourself and your community proud. So it also, and also the pressure of, if you're being supported by community, like, their money cannot be going to waste. I don't know if any of you have ever experienced a variation of that pressure. You don't have to be in the diaspora. Just put a one in the chat. Yeah. Have you ever felt like you really need to show up and show out, because money is tied to whatever thing you're pursuing at the time? So my story is that, yeah, lots of financial anxiety. I'm a self-sponsored, at least that's in the visa, what you see. Like, I'm not on a scholarship. I'm not publicly funded um, by anyone. So I'm here on the backs of many people. And if any of them are watching, thank you. But even if they're not, they know themselves, and I'm really grateful to them. So I've been able to get through school, basically, through fundraising efforts in varying degrees, through the work. Yeah, a lot of work and many people. Um, and so, my most recent experience of financial anxiety, for the context, right now, I am coming to the end of my degree, and I'm about to graduate. And for you to enroll for graduation, you need to have settled your outstanding fees balance, and um, circumstances. Just, there was a lot of disruption there, and that was at risk. Like, I was at risk of not graduating, and it was probably, and Michelle is in the chat, so she can tell me if this is true as an outsider, um, probably the most anxiety inducing moment of my entire life so far. Um, well, I say that like I'm expecting more anxiety. I hope there's no more anxiety of that degree ever again. But it was happening, and it was in the middle of my exams. So everything felt like it was on the line. And everything that I had worked for, everything that I had sacrificed, was boiling down to this moment. And there was just a lot of pressure and a lot of overwhelm. And it's actually a time that I would never wish on anyone, or even on my worst enemy. And I remember around that time, I opened TikTok, and I saw a student in the UK. Um, I don't remember where she's from, but she was appealing to the general public to help her, like, get her fees sorted so that she could graduate as well. And in that moment, I felt validated, and also very sad, because I remember when I was talking about this experience to some loved ones, I learned that I'm not the first person in my family to be in this very position. And unfortunately, I can't control whether or not I am the last one. In the ways that I can, I don't know, advise my younger nephews, nieces, nibblings, my cousins. I wouldn't want that to be their story either. But this happens to so many people. And going through that experience, I I wasn't alone. I was very supported, but I was the one experiencing that. I was the one going through that, through the anxiety. I was the one trying to study for exams. I was the one making the appeal, and I was the one sitting the exams. No one. I was the one who was doing all those things. And yeah, it was an awful time. And yeah, that's my story. That's my background. So I've had this is not the first time something similar has happened, but the pressure of it being close to graduation and it being like my last chance to do so and to get everything in order just added another level of anxiety, of fear, of helplessness. Have you ever felt helpless when it comes to your financial position? If you have, just put a two in the chat. Um, just, just to know you're not alone. I've gone through the same thing as well. So then now this is where I think the slides get interesting and entertaining or informative. I went through my spreadsheets to try as best as I can to actually break down the expenses because the whole point of this live discussion is to think about the financial cost, the financial burden of being an international student in the UK. And when I was telling these numbers, I was just like, what? Okay, maybe you can't, you probably wouldn't be able to see that as well. So just before you even step foot into the UK, you need to pay for your visa. And then in the UK, for you to access the National Health Service, you have to pay a health surcharge of around 270,000 Kenya shillings. And they calculate it based on, I think, every year that the visa will cover you. And then they multiply that and then they give you a fixed amount. You obviously have to find your way to the UK. And then I happen to be one of the lucky the lucky students who were coming here at the time of the pandemic. And you had to quarantine out of your own pocket. Can you look at that number, guys? 365,000 Kenya shillings for, I think, was quarantine 10 days at Holiday Express. It wasn't even a bougie hotel. And you couldn't do nothing. You were just being taken out on a walk around a court. My God, those were dark times. But, and then you have to pay a deposit for a flat, a student accommodation. So everything to do with moving. Before you've even come to the country, you've just dropped £5,000. What do you guys think about that? Any thoughts, any feelings? Yeah, the feeling is pain. Okay. Then tuition. So school fees in the UK is ridiculously expensive for international students. Ridiculously expensive. I have given you the range and I have references, but it's anywhere from 27,000 to 52,000 for my degree. So that's anywhere from 4.5 million Kenya shillings to 8.7 million Kenya shillings per annum. So per year of your education. So you can do the math about how much you're spending on school fees. And then fixed recurring expenses. I used the lower end. Actually, you know what? If you are open to sharing with me, I would love to hear your figures if you know them as we go. So, how much do you pay for tuition? So, just say tuition fees, X amount. Um, just that we can have a comparison between the two. And then fixed recurring expenses. I'll be honest, I think the number I've put here is on the lower end because the reference that I have there, which I think was the British Council, said for an international student living in the UK, they probably spend about, I think, 900 to £1,300 a month. And obviously, they broke it down depending on which part of the UK you're in, London versus other places. Rent would be different depending on how, yeah. Actually, yeah, working girlies, what would be the equivalent of tuition? What can I ask you in terms of your finances? Maybe if we can't, what was your tuition before you were working? Maybe if you went to school. Um, I don't want to make assumptions, but what was your school fees per annum in your undergraduate? So fixed expenses are at least £600 a month. So let's look at this. Um, sure. Just gonna acknowledge my privilege as a Scottish student. Yeah, so Scottish students do not pay anything. Local students do not pay a dime to go to any level of education. What a concept. What a concept. 450,000 Kenya shillings per annum. Okay, so against 4.5, it's basically 10% of the lower end of the cost of school fees here. Okay, so back to the figures. So before you've even spent any money on lifestyle, on luxury, on saving and investing, this is how much you're spending per month. 200 £2,850 or around 480,000 Kenya shillings. When I was putting these numbers down, I was just even now I'm just thinking about it and I'm shaking. Because if you think about it in terms of if you have to take a loan out to pay your fees, just think about how much debt you have at the end of your degree. And I know we hear a lot about loans and debt, especially in the US, but I mean, debt is everywhere. And I think actually Ken had talked a bit about financing and how easy it is to get into debt as an international student. So these figures are crazy. So let me look at what you are saying. Tuition twins. Okay, so around that. Hi, Mina. Welcome to the chat. You earn before the new funding model 52K per annum. So what is the cost now? What's the new funding model? I'm not up to date with that. Please do share. Okay. So guys, crazy numbers. Crazy numbers. So that's the expense breakdown. This has been the cost of living. And I've been in the UK for 3 years. If you're in the UK for 6 years, 7 years, just imagine how much money that is. All right. Next, graduation. So I think the reason I put this slide is because I think again culturally, you graduate and then now you've been thrown away. Or not thrown away. Oh gosh, that's not you're now leaving the nest. And if you've been supported prior to graduation, now it's time to be independent. Get a job, fend for yourself. So let's think of that as a hypothetical. You graduate like this, these expenses start popping up. Gown hire, like you have to pay 7K for the gown you're going to wear on graduation day. And this is higher, it's not purchase, because I believe purchase was like £80 or something, maybe even more. So just to wear it and return it, you've paid 7,000 Kenya shillings. Then a visa, if you're even lucky enough to be able to switch over to a working visa or a graduate visa, you're paying another £285. So yeah, actually, let me just show this. I didn't even consider that visiting home is a luxury for international students. Yeah, I don't think people think about that. I mean, I guess because if you follow the train of thought that international students in the UK, or the assumption that international students in the UK have a lot of money, then coming home is a given. It's not really that it's an added expense. But if you take that assumption away, and if you think about why people, whether they're working or as students, when they're away from home for a long time, why is it that they're not coming home more often? One of the big things is money. You can't afford to come home because a flight is 800 pounds at least, and this was just me looking at recent estimates, and it can be higher depending on um which airlines you fly with. So I put it as accommodation slash flight home because assuming you graduate and you go back home immediately, then your flight home is the 800 pounds. But assuming you graduate and you stay, then your tenancy is probably ending and you need to find a new flat. So you need to do the whole accommodation expenses thing again, which is not cheap because you have to put down a deposit. Often, sometimes you pay an extra month's rent. You need a security deposit. You need to factor in moving costs depending on how far you're going. As an international student, many of us do not drive. We don't have access to a car hire. Maybe you have friends who can assist you to move, but there will be costs to moving because you don't have the same access. So if you want a painless move, there will be some money involved one way or another. If your friend helps you with their car, you might want to contribute to the fuel to at least thank them for doing that for you. So all of those things cost money. And then work related expenses, licensing fees. There's just a lot of things that come up because now you're moving from being a student to being a working person. Some registration fees, things like that will come up. So, as you can see, the things I've put down as a luxury, which maybe you don't really think about because they're a given, and you only graduate from that thing once, right? So your outfit, your hair, your makeup, photography. I call them luxury because also you don't have to pay for these things. You can use your own dress that you already own and do your own hair, your own makeup. Take pictures using your phone. You can make it work. And then graduation ball, if there's anything, post celebration, traveling in general, whether you go home or you want to travel and celebrate, just rest. All of these are luxuries. So that's another 200,000 Kenya shillings. So I think I want to stop there and ask you, I don't even know if there are any questions, any comments, anything about where we are at so far. I think the other thing, as I gave you time to think about that, was about working on a student visa. So, as an international student here, my student visa allows me to work no more than 20 hours per week. And according to gov.uk, minimum wage, when I last checked, was £11.44. So, if you work 20 hours a week, you're making, and that's assuming you're being paid that much, you're making £220, so times 4, 880. So you've just about covered your cost of living. And let me ask, actually, do any of you work, or did any of you work while you were in school? Yes. And if so, how many hours a week were you working? And if you're even more comfortable with sharing, do you know how much you are making per hour? Working 20 hours a week in a very intensive course is nearly impossible. I'm not saying it's impossible. Many people take shifts. They'll take shifts on Saturday, take shifts when we have an afternoon off. They do private tutoring. There's ways to make money as a student, but it involves a lot of sacrifice, a lot of opting out of socializing, opting out of rest, opting out of, yeah, just having a life outside of school, because you're going from school and then you're going to work, and then you have other responsibilities. You're someone's sister, daughter, partner, friend, pet mom. So it's hectic. So I think that's something that maybe people don't always think about as much. That, yeah, you could work, you could earn a few extra pounds here and there, but can you really always work while you're in school? And there's a lot of privilege in not working while you're in school. And I had, throughout the years, I've had many moments when I felt like, no, I need to actually start working, but I had no capacity to do it. I think I would have actually lost every, like, I would have shriveled and wilted away. But also I understand that I had the privilege to not work. Though you could argue that the little income I've gotten here and there from content creation, from my one-on-one sessions with my clients for their hair care things, there's been money that's I've brought in here and there, but have not taken a job. Um, so let's see. I did not work while in school. Was that a choice? Was there ever a question around whether you wanted to work or not? Or was it just what it was? Okay. Yeah, up to 6 hours of tutoring a week at £15 an hour. As I said, was privileged to not pay fees, but was very full on. So if you're looking at that, that's £90 a week. So times 4 is £360 a month, which is, it's more money than zero, but it's actually not enough money for you to live comfortably per se. So, and it was very full on. So thank you for sharing. I didn't work, did some paid projects interspersed through uni. Yeah. So everyone has their own experience with working. And abroad, everyone decides what they decide for themselves. Many people around me worked through uni, and mad props to them, honestly. Where are we now? We're almost done, guys. Can you imagine? Are we sad? If you're sad that it's almost over, put a sad emoji. Um, my biggest money lessons about being an international student abroad is to be more open about money. When I was reflecting on the challenges that I've had with money, I realized that some people might be, even people in my life, loved ones who know me very intimately. This might be the first time you're realizing how much it's cost or it's meant for me. Like, you're learning all of this for the first time and you know me. So I was very challenged by the fact that I was here talking about the fact that we need to talk about money when I don't talk about money with the people in my life. So it's hard. It's hard to be open and vulnerable. Also, I love how we're leaning in. Yes, the sadness. I too am so sad. But all good things must come to an end. But not yet. Not yet. To all 10 of you, thank you. And to all of you who are watching after the fact, thanks for being here. So that was one of my key lessons. Do you think, I pose a question to you, do you think that you can be more open about money with people in your life? Do you think there could be a possible benefit there? When I was reflecting about it, I realized that I would have felt less alone. I think there's a part of me that felt that I will talk about money with people who explicitly ask me, which is not really something I do intentionally. It's just the way my head works. If you don't ask, I don't tell, and it's not like I'm withholding information. It's just I answer what's asked of me. But also there was an element of I don't want to burden the people I'm sharing this information with a concern about me, especially when I know that they can't help me. So why am I telling my friend that I can't pay school fees when she doesn't have money to solve this problem for me? And it's a very it's such a false mentality, because if you think about it in any other context, when you're sad about something that your friend can't fix, that doesn't mean you don't tell them that you're sad. And that's something I've really been trying to work through, about being more vulnerable. But also another reason why I think being more open could have helped is you just never know what people can do for you and how people can help you. I see a hello in the chat. Hi, Joy. Welcome, welcome. Um, you are not too late. The question that I think we are answering right now is, do you think you could benefit from being more open about money, talking more about it with people around you? So, Mishi, my twinnie, yes, although it's difficult to talk about money without knowing other people's relationships with it. So that's where I'm starting. Yeah, you just have to start somewhere. You have to start by seeing what, like, you have to figure out what people feel about money. And obviously, again, you have to respect people's boundaries. But you need to think about it's a good place to start. And I think where I was also going with the benefit of talking about money is you don't know who can help you. And I think I based on the people who've come through for me, the angels who've supported me, there've been many who are quite surprising, because I just never considered that I could speak to this person and I could tell them that this is my financial situation and they would be able to support me. And by that, I mean financially, but also in kind. Like, there are so many things when you're stressed about the money and trying to figure out the money, there are so many other ways your community can support you through that. But also, some of them could know someone who knows someone who's willing to give you money. Like I actually chose suffering for myself by keeping it to myself, or because I don't want to be a burden, or I don't want to stress other people, or other people also going through their own things, when my friend could know someone who can give me a grant. And these are opportunities of to be poured into that I have missed out on over the years. And I'm looking back and I'm like, I really didn't need to feel like I was alone in all of this. Vulnerability breeds vulnerability, and we would all benefit from sharing together. 100%. 100%. The other thing that I learned about money from my experience as an international student is taking advantage of financial aid. So every uni is specific about what they can offer, but there's also financial aid opportunities outside of uni. I think, well, I know I've just not been aggressive enough over the years to look for money. There's a lot of money, and they're looking for people to give that money. I learned from I learned that even the hardship fund at my university is under subscribed. People don't ask for money, so they just have money sitting there, and I've not taken advantage of that. And I I'm in the middle of applying for it, because you need all the help you can get, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with applying for grants and just, yeah, getting some money. So get connected to your university, get connected to your advisor or your mentor, whoever you can, to the financial department. They are always aware of the opportunities you have to get some money. Um, while we're there, have you ever like received financial aid from your academic institution? Yeah, you can share a bit about that as well. Is it something you would encourage as well? Um, what else have I learned? I've learned that scholarship students and local students also have their own unique financial struggles. And it's not that necessarily I didn't acknowledge this, but it's you think through the lens of your own lived experience. And when you feel somewhat invalidated, especially by this theory that international students have money, they're minted, they're comfortable, um, then the conversation is very different with, or how I perceive a local student who's paying nothing to go to uni is you don't even understand the beginning of my struggles. And I don't like to do that. I don't like to invalidate their experiences as well. And scholarship students have another degree of dealing with money because you're here, you cannot afford to be here at all. Like if you didn't have this scholarship, you would not be in these spaces with these people who, yeah, I struggle. I don't want to speak to the experience of um people on scholarships, but I know people who are on scholarship, and they also have their own financial struggles and societal struggles, like relationship with money, the difficulty of talking about money with other people. Um, yeah. And then lastly, there is another layer of the financial impact of other intersections of identity, whether it's the race, sex, disability, religion, sexuality. And I can't speak to all of these things, but when you're thinking about money, just like many other things, it's not just about money. When you think about people's race, for example, and their sex and their religion, and especially as an international student, and being, I'm a Kenyan, I'm African, my access to jobs looks different. So even if I wanted to make extra income, if my communication skills or my interviewing skills or my people skills might not necessarily at par with local students, but different in a way that matters to these companies and these institutions, then even if I wanted to work, I might not be able to. So, or I might not be getting opportunities that can afford me a decent living, a comfortable living. So, um, over the years and over having conversations with many people about their relationship with money, I've realized it's just so complex, so much more complicated than, oh, yeah, you have money and you don't. You get a job, yeah, sure. It's never that simple. I would love to pose a question to you, all eight of you. Um, if there was one key money lesson you learned through your time as an undergraduate, or you're learning now, because I've not even asked you guys how old you are, where you are in life, but through your time in school, what's one lesson you learned that you took away about money as a student? Um, And yeah, wow, I think I did very well in my time because I just wanted to give myself an upper limit of 1 hour. And so I wanted to end the live discussion on a note about rest as resistance. And this is based on a book that, because my thing is blurry, you're not gonna see. Let's do that. So, Rest is Resistance by Trisha Hersey is a book. The title says Free Yourself from Grind Culture and Reclaim Your Life. So, why did I want to end this live on this note? The financial anxiety I've experienced as an international student in the diaspora is is closely connected to ambition under capitalism, wanting to or seeking out what I deem as the best quality of education that I can get so that I can access better opportunities, so that I can be more successful under capitalism. And so, and while that's not necessarily the only reason why I left the country, it is a big part of it. And so we can't think about and talk about money without thinking about why it's so stressful and why we care about it so much. And where I'm at now is I'm very deeply, deeply burnt out, um, just from school, and school on its own can burn me out, from the financial anxieties that I've experienced, and deeply in need of rest right now. Rest that has felt hard to allow myself to feel and to experience. So I'm just seeing some of your comments here so we can take a look at that. What I learned is money always comes back is probably not the best truism. Tell me more. Did you spend too much money on enjoyment? It's like it's fine. Money comes back, and then the money is not coming back. The money didn't hear you when you told it to come back. Joy. As an international student myself, one thing I've learned about money is delayed gratification. The long term investments I made years ago saved me during my unemployment after graduation. That's such a wonderful point to make, and a very sober one, because I think I've not been as grounded in thinking about this conversation from that angle of, financial discipline, which, is its own conversation. And, but yeah, delayed gratification is so important. There's so many things I've just not chosen to spend money on because you need to afford tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after. And in real time, that'll mean you're not going on those lovely trips that everyone is taking when we have 3 days off, or you're not going for every single thing and attending every event. You have to be selective. And yeah, I'm glad that those investments have saved you post graduation. There is no right way to do your finances whilst at uni. Everyone's circumstances are different and will handle it differently. And that's okay. Yeah, we really do need to be kind to ourselves. And that's something I'm really, really working on, because I've not always been, and I'm still working on giving myself as much grace as I would give someone I care about, someone I love, someone in front of me. Sometimes when you're looking at yourself, you're just like, no, but you, you know the thing, so you shouldn't, or you this and that and that. And yeah, you just forget that you are human. You're a student, regardless of your age. We are always learning. We're always, every day is a school day. So thank you so much for sharing that. Um, and yeah, we were talking about rest is resistance. So I wrote here my ancestors' labor, and basically thinking about how the people who came before me worked hard, and I feel that it's a privilege to not labor as hard as they did. And my language is failing me, but if you understand me, give me a thumbs up if that sentence made sense. I my my mother and my mother's mother and my mother's mother's mother, they worked extremely hard in very different circumstances, and rest is a birthright. It's something that I don't think you need to earn. I don't think it's a privilege. I don't think you rest after you've done the thing. Rest, even from a scientific point of view, is a need. You cannot live life without sleep. You'd actually die if you are deprived of sleep long enough. So I'm tying this back to this conversation about being an international student, worrying about money, pursuing security, stability in a career, but trying to be grounded in the fact that I don't want to be in the rat race. Not even forever, but just in general. And I think that ties greatly into the next point where I say um, one of my greatest privileges is that the labor is of my own choosing. No one forced me to be here. No one has forced me to do the things I've done, to pursue the career I'm pursuing, to work on the things that I work on, to be here talking to you. Um, it's all been a choice. And so for that, I'm grateful that at least, even though I'm laboring, it's a chosen labor. Um, Gratitude is so important. At the end of the day, I think community care is more important than self care. And that's something she talks about in her book, Rest is Resistance, about how self care is this thing that's been pushed for us to think about life as individuals, and that's not a way to thrive. We we exist to take care of one another. That's what's natural about being human. And a lot of my experience being away from home, being a student, has been seeking that support, seeking being held financially, being held emotionally, and holding other people as well. So I'm extremely grateful for the people who've held me through my experience abroad in all the ways, whether it was just holding space for me, sitting with me in silence, checking me when I was not taking good care of myself, or, making, you know, doing things that I could have done differently. But um, let's see what Jean is saying. I have learned that it is helpful for me to think about any money I have access to as money I'm currently stewarding and not as an asset I own. It helps me to think differently about how to use it. I like that a lot. Stewardship. Yeah. I like this a lot. Yeah. It's, instead of it being something you own, it's something you need to take care of and you need to respect. It's kind of like, when you borrow a book from the library, you need to return it in good shape, because money is very circular. It comes and it goes and it comes and it goes. So I really like that. I really like that. Thanks for sharing. So, if there are any questions, any more comments as we wind up, please drop them. Now is your time. I just wanted to finish off by reminding us that in the times that we are living in right now, as I said, community care is the most important thing. I hope that wherever you are safe. And if you can, donate, volunteer, amplify the voices of all the people who are experiencing suffering right now. This is, as I said from the beginning, a very privileged conversation to be having. I have the peace of talking to you for an hour right now when there are people in Palestine, in Congo, in Sudan, who can't say the same thing. So, whatever you can to support those people, please do. There are people who've been really affected by the flood victims in Kenya, and there are other atrocities that we can talk about till kingdom come. But just remember that community care is at the root of everything. So if you can take anything away from this discussion, it's just a reminder to take care of others, because we aren't free until everyone is free, and we are each other's. There's this quote by Gwendolyn Brooks that I really like, is we are each other's harvest, we are each other's business, we are each other's magnitude and bond. So at the end of the day, I feel like that's something that's held me thinking community first. And yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you today. I had some references at the end, but it's not like I'm sharing the slides with you, but these are my references. So, but if you have any questions, any comments, maybe as you head off, let me know how you found this session. If you enjoyed it, please make sure you give the video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to my channel so that I can know that, yeah, I think you stick around. We can have more conversations like this. And if you'd like to leave a comment afterwards, letting me know if there are more conversations around the diaspora that you'd want us to have, not just about money, but I would love to do this more. So before I leave, final comments. And yeah, I just want you to take care of yourselves. And my tagline is always remember that your hair is your crown and your body is a temple. Embrace it, love it, and take care of it. Take care of your body, take care of your hair, take care of your skin, take care of your mind, take care of your heart, and take care of one another. Thank you so much for being here and for engaging with me. Bye.